Hi there! Today we are going to be looking at making a surrealism collage using bits of found magazines and newspapers. So to do this I just need bits and pieces of magazines and newspapers, different images, backgrounds, foregrounds, middle grounds, all different types, my glue stick and my scissors. So I'm going to pop my glue stick and scissors to one side for a moment and have a look at my images. I've tried to collect a series of images, so I've got a really nice image of a horse here. I thought maybe I could use the whole horse, maybe the window. I could just use the head perhaps, maybe just the legs. I've got a image here of a classroom. You can see there's background here, but I'm thinking of maybe cutting that out, maybe placing this on a different background so it looks like their classroom is actually somewhere else. Lovely beach scene here, just possible background. We've got a monk here, so somebody who's going to maybe be standing on something or put in front of a different background to make him look a little bit more bizarre. I've got a selection of books where the foreground is quite blurry, but you've got a couple in the background that are in focus, and then the further background is again out of focus, so I might maybe take these away from the furthest background, cut them out there. And I've got another background here, but this one is a little bit more misty, a bit more foresty than something like the beach one here. So I've got a couple of images, I've got some ideas in my head. Now, the point of a surrealism collage, and I'm mainly basing mine on the artist Hannah Hoch, is that the composition should look like it could almost work, but it confuses your eyes and it confuses your mind a little bit. So to do that, I'm going to try and focus on a background and then a foreground, and then maybe thinking of adding something extra that's going to make my image look a little bit strange. Now, I really like this image here of the classroom, so I think I'm going to keep that. I really like this beach as well, so I think what I might do is cut out my students here, just along the tops around their heads here, and tidy up this edge, and then place the students onto the beach scene so that the background of their classroom is actually the beach. I think that would be quite interesting. I would obviously have to trim this background down so that it's not just overhanging, so that's fine. We can trim the composition down and make it a bit smaller. I feel like I want to make the students look a little bit strange. Oh, actually, what I might do, I might actually take the head of this horse. I might cut out just the head and maybe a little bit of the neck here, and then try and place it on one of the students. I think that would be quite funny, maybe a little bit interesting. So they've got just a horse head coming out the top of their uniform. I quite like that idea. So I'm going to put my other piece of paper to one side, and I'm going to quickly cut out these shapes. Whilst I'm doing it, I'm going to be very careful to make sure I'm cutting very neatly around the edges here and around the outline of the shapes that I want to keep. So I will meet you back here in a minute once those are all cut out. Okay, so as you just saw, I have cut out my classroom scene here along the top edge so that you can see different shapes of the heads. I've got my horse head here. I haven't trimmed down my background yet because I'm going to wait until I arrange where I want the classroom to be on this scene, and then I'll trim it down afterwards. And then all of my excess paper I've just popped over here to the side, so that can kind of stay out of my way, but I haven't put it in the bin yet because I might use it for another collage image maybe in a little bit. So now I need to think about where this is going to go. Now I could place my classroom down here, but then when I trim it, because I don't want the image to be too big, I'm going to have a little bit of a plain background. I don't think I want that. I want something a little bit more interesting, a bit more colourful. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bring the classroom up to here so that you can't really see the sand, but we can see the water. Okay, and what I'm actually going to do is line up the straight edge of my top image with the edge of the background, and then it will make it a little bit easier for me to trim it. I quite like the position of that. You'll see I'm not sticking it down yet because I'm still sort of thinking things through. In fact, I could slide it over to here. There's not that much highlight on the mountain, so I think I like it over here because there's a wider range of tone. You've got the darker mountain and the lighter mountain there. I think that works quite well. Then I've got my horse's head here, so you'll see that I've cut almost like a curve underneath because I noticed that some of the shapes of the collars were curved. I might still need to trim this depending on where I'm going to put it, but that's absolutely fine. So looking at the scene, I think because of the size of the head, I'm probably going to have it up close. Now, I could pop it here, but this boy's hand is reaching up to his face and that will be covered up by the horse, so I don't think that will work. I actually quite like it here. But because of the shape of the hair, I'm going to have to tilt it back a little bit. So I think I'm going to have to cut looking at the shape of the collar there, I'm going to have to cut a curve. So I'm just going to trim this upwards a little bit to match the collar. That's better. Still not quite what I was looking for, so I'm going to trim it again because I want the horse's head to sit nicely on that collar there. Okay, great. Yeah, I like that. Excellent. Okay, so I've got the positioning there, I've got the position of my horse's head, so I think I'm going to start sticking those down. I'm going to stick my horse's head down first because it is the top layer, and then I can see how the image looks all together before I kind of stick the foreground to the background. I also quite like how the horse's head is in colour and then the classroom image is in black and white. I quite like the contrast of that. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm quite happy with this over here. I don't really want the sand showing, so I'm going to push it up. I think about there. That's great. So I'm going to put some glue onto the back. You'll see I'm applying glue to all of the edges because it's such a strange shape along the top. If I don't apply glue to all of these areas, it might come unstuck and possibly tear. I'm going to line that up and carefully press it down. Okay, so I'm happy with that, but I've got a lot of excess space here that isn't being used. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim along the edge so that I've got a smaller composition. So I'm actually going to use the line of the black and white image to help me. And just cut along the edge. Moves that out the way, and then the same up here. And now I have my entire composition all as one. So you can see that it looks quite strange. I've got a classroom that has an ocean and mountains in the background, which is very unusual because usually it would be in a room rather than outdoors. And then I've got a student with a horse's head, which again is very surreal. And I've used magazine and newspaper clippings to create this rather than drawing it, which is very similar to the way that the artist Hannah Hoch works. So I'm quite happy with this. I think I'm going to use the other pieces of magazine that I have over here to make another one. I'll speed that one up for you though, so you kind of know what I'm aiming for here. Something a little bit strange, something very surreal. Okay, so as you can see, I've made a second collage here. I've arranged the books here in the foreground with a background there, so it looks like they're in amongst the forest and amongst the trees and the bushes. And then I've got this monk character here. Because of the shape of the way that their legs are positioned, I've actually tried to make it look like they're standing or jumping from the books or onto the books. So I've got two surreal collages here. I've used a wide range of different pieces from different magazines, different newspapers, different newsletters and things like that. So you can really do this using anything around your house, and then just my pair of scissors and my glue stick. I hope that this tutorial video was helpful. Please remember to recycle any offcuts of your paper or your newspaper, or even your magazine, and make sure that you have a really lovely day. Bye!